This is a regular meeting of the Allendale Land Use Board at which formal action will be taken on the items listed on the agenda and upon any other matters that may properly come before the Land Use Board. The requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied through posting on the public bulletin board in the municipal building and on the borough website and by publication in the Bergen Record on January 28th, 2023, with copies being sent to the Ridgewood News. Certain agenda items will be open to the public for comment and/or testimony. The board will advise the public as to when such matters are open for their comment and/or testimony. Good evening, everybody. Would you join me in a salute to the flag, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Going through our agenda. Linda, if you'd be so kind to do a roll call, please.
Vice Chairwoman Bergen.
Here.
Board Member Petrino.
Here.
Board Member Kistner.
Here.
Councilman Delavatio. Absent Board Member Dallo.
Here.
Chairman Sirico.
Here.
Mayor Wilsinski.
Here.
Alternate Rosala.
Here.
Alternate Butler.
Linda.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from the June 21st, 2023 regular meeting. I went through them. I had some changes. Mayor, thank you. I know that you also had some comments. Thank you. And then we made a couple other just a couple quick additions that Linda put out this afternoon. So I apologize to everybody here for the fact that they came out today, but the modifications are very, very minor. So, but other than that, everything else appears to be in order. So I'd like to get a motion for the approval of the minutes, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. I'll second. Thank you. Okay, Linda, please.
Vice Chairman Bergen.
Yes.
Board Member Petrino.
Yes.
Board Member Dallo.
Yes.
Chairman Sirico.
Yes.
Mayor Wilsinski.
Yes.
Alternate Rosala.
Yes.
Alternate Butler.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. We're going to move on now to the resolutions from the last meeting. We had two of them. And Council, I believe that you have both of these prepared, so we'll start with the first one if you wouldn't mind.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good, Mr. Chairman. We have resolution 2316. This is for Lauren Goldberg and Richard Goldberg at 118 Greenway. They were looking to do an addition and renovation to their existing dwelling, and they presented testimony through their architect. And their variance relief was for minimum lot area and side yard setbacks, which were de minimis. The board unanimously approved it, and the resolution that I prepared memorializes the approval and all the conditions associated with it.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions on these resolutions? Okay. I'd like to have, would somebody make the motion to accept the resolution as summarized by Mr. Bada?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Okay.
Vice Chairwoman Bergen.
Yes.
Board Member Petrino.
Yes.
Board Member Dallo.
Yes.
Chairman Sirico.
Yes.
Mayor Wilsinski.
Yes.
Alternate Rosala.
Yes.
Alternate Butler.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. That one I just have.
Oh, thank you.
And then that one I didn't cross off.
And then yeah, then you have to sign.
Is it okay? Should I cross off?
Yes. All right. Mr. Bada, we have a second.
The second resolution, 23-17, this is the application for preliminary and final site plan approval by Veolia Water New Jersey, Inc. This is regarding the property at 664 West Crescent Avenue. This is in connection with the installation of a temporary PFAS water treatment facility at that location. They presented testimony from their engineer, as well as diagrams and pictures and site plans. And the application was approved based on a C2 variance relief standard. And this resolution memorializes that approval. One of the conditions on it was that landscape improvements on the site shall be addressed in the field in consultation with the borough engineer in order to minimize any impact on surrounding properties and provide adequate shielding and buffering of the proposed improvements.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on these? Seeing none, can I have somebody offer this, please?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
Vice Chairman Bergen,
I think I have to abstain from that, or absent from,
You were absent on this.
yeah, I'll abstain
Yes.
from.
Board Member Petrino,
Yes.
Board Member Dallo,
Yes.
Chairman Tirico,
Yes.
Mayor Wazinski.
Yes.
Alternate Rosella,
Yes.
alternate Butler.
Yes.
You.
Good.
All right. Okay. So, thank you, Mayor. The next on our agenda are the public hearings. This is a continuation from the public hearing of June 21st, 2023. It's application number LUB 2023-05. Michael Zioli and Samantha Dabinio. I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. I'm sorry. Thank you. I should know that. Address 41 Elmwood, in Allendale, block 2009, lot 4. This is for a two-story addition in rear and side yards pursuant to section 270-37A. In the last, we don't have to swear in, I can kind of.
They're
continue.
sworn in from the
Okay.
previous hearing.
All right, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna summarize it. Okay. So, from the last meeting, there were some questions from the board members on some plans and other information that we needed, and I see that you submitted a site plan for us. Thank you. And I think with this, council, we can proceed.
Yes, just,
Please.
pick up where you left off.
Thank you.
With regard to the site plan that was previously submitted in timely manner, and there was also a picture, so just tell us what you,
Okay. So
Go
first,
for it.
let's start with the site plan.
Okay.
The site plan that was submitted, I believe, met all the requirements of what was requested. On this site plan, we show a protest field to mitigate any additional drainage off of the roof and impervious surface, if there is none. And it also shows the distance to the neighboring properties. So on the east side of the lot, we are 76.8 feet from the corner of the garage of the neighboring property. And on the west side of the lot, we are 29.9 feet to the corner of that house. Additionally, I did some research and I gave one result of my research. There was a few excavating vehicles that can fit well within 5 feet width, particularly made to pipe side yards. I sent a photo of that. I was also told by the contractor, the general contractor, that these types of vehicles are readily available in all rental facilities locally. So they're easily rented and used on these properties.
Okay. First off, again, thank you for this. Thank you for this. And for the keys with all of the zoning notes, et cetera. Again, we're noting, as the drawing is saying, is 7.4 feet on the one side and 5 on the other. So this vehicle should fit through and around the side. Okay,
I actually witnessed it firsthand. I didn't realize it, but we were doing work in the back of, in the rear of my house. And I had a very narrow gravel road,
Mhm.
which, I believe was 5 or 6 feet wide. And the excavator, I told you have to stay on that road, and he did, and it was very successful.
okay. All right. I know in the last meeting that, some of our board members had some questions that they were posing, and hence why we had requested this plan accordingly. So, Frank, I think I'm gonna start with you. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit, if that's okay.
That put me in this
All
one.
right, thank you.
So thank you very much for this, because it really, just identifies everything that's going on the property, albeit it doesn't change the side yards, which I didn't anticipate it to, but it helps me understand, what I was really concerned with, which is, the floor area ratio, which, is obviously increasing. I understand you're stuck with your side yards, they are what they are. You're not exacerbating or making them worse, but you're increasing and you're looking for a variance for your FAR. And so I looked on here, and it might be on the architecturals, but do you know offhand what the existing FAR is versus what you're proposing?
The existing is 22, we're proposing 33.
Where 23.2 is allowed,
Correct,
given the plot.
correct.
I know, if you could, I understand the percentage, the square footage of the floor. So there's the lot 6,947 square feet.
Mhm.
At 35%, you'd be allowed to have a floor area of 2,292 square feet. So I just want you to confirm the square footage of the actual floor. I know what the percentage is.
Mhm. 364 square feet times 2, which is 728.
You're increasing by 728, so is it fair to say that your existing floor is 1,597 square feet thereabouts?
Yeah, that's fair.
There been any consideration to trying to eliminate that and stay within the 22 percent that you're allowed? Because you're seeking a few variances, and what I'd like to see is an attempt to perhaps try and get closer to eliminating one of them.
Oh, the purpose of this is to increase the size of the kitchen and the master bedroom.
Okay.
And this location is immediately off of the kitchen and the master. So by trying to eliminate this, would be eliminating, huge chunks or portions of the project.
What about, again, I'm not looking at the architecturals, but what about left or right of it? Is there an area that we can, it's easy to go across the back, but you guys are up against the floor area ratio that, again, you have to understand that
No, I
once we do this, we set a precedent, right? So we approve you, then we have to approve the next individual and the next individual, so we're not really doing our job as a board to make sure that you provide a burden of proof where I certainly would feel comfortable approving such a variance.
So a lot of this design was predicated on where the existing stair is. I didn't want to have to relocate the existing stair, which falls in the center of the property like most capes
Okay.
have. And in order to accomplish what you're requesting, the additional bedroom that we were adding would be reduced to the point where by code it wouldn't be allowed to be sold then. So that's what drove that decision.
So basically, because of the location of the stair
Right.
is what.
Yeah, the stair comes right into the center, so that starts to dictate, what has to happen. Of course, without dismantling the entire house.
Understood.
I assume the stair's not shown on the first floor plan. I assume the stair is right at the entry there.
Yes, correct. Oh, I'm
Start-
sorry, yeah, it does. Where it is on the second is overlaid, yes, correct.
And then that's the door down to the basement on the other
Yes,
side,
correct.
right? Did you estimate how much you would have to cut back in order to meet the floor area ratio calculation of the 22%?
I could do that now.
About how many feet?
I could do it very quickly, if you give me a minute. Okay. We have to cut the addition in half. That would have been half.
Of the addition?
Yeah.
So essentially, the first floor would be built out, but where you run into problems is the second floor.
Correct.
And on the second floor, you're adding, so there's a total of 4 bedrooms, right? It looks like the walls aren't appearing on the second floor.
Sheet A3,
Yeah,
so we have the 2 front bedrooms which are existing, and then we have the rear.
so there's a master and then it looks like your walls are appearing on yours, but not on
Not on the
ours.
print out.
Ours don't show the wall
Oh,
on
I'm
the second
sorry.
floor. It's all it's just
It's
hatched.
hatched up there, yeah, okay. Would you like to see this one?
Sure.
Okay, we're gonna have to mark that. How many of that do you have?
I just have one. Work that as exhibit A1.
Give us a moment to digest this, okay?
What are you adding? 2 bedrooms or one? We're increasing the size of the back bedroom upstairs. That's immediately adjacent to the proposed master suite.
If the stairs were to be relocated, how would that, would it bring it closer to what the FAR needs to be?
It would give me more options, but it would mean the entire first floor would have to be dismantled and gutted, but that's also the stairs case. So at that point, you're demolishing the house, entire house.
you know, 50%, the 50% jump in FAR is a lot. Um,
Get 10%,
I don't know, my numbers are
23%,
wrinkly.
we're 10% over what's allowed,
Yeah, you're 10% over,
over what's
Okay.
allowed, yeah.
over what's allowed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, my no. Okay, you're 10% over what is allowed.
Problem is on this property, right, the square footage is not much, but again, going back to what I said, when you do something like this, it really affects all properties. So now you have a 40,000 square foot application that comes before you, and you go over 10%, and they could build 4,000 square feet more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm having a problem. We gotta look at what, we have to look at the town in a whole, right? Even on this street, there's properties that are much larger than this. So then they come before us, they ask for 10%. 10% of their lot is gonna be 4,000, albeit your lot's a lot smaller, but I have a problem with that much and not making an effort. I get it. I just can't see the hardship, moving a stair or retrofitting the first floor to make it work or try to make it work. Unfortunately, it's the hand that you guys have been dealt when you bought this property. It's hard for me to sit here and you know, as much as I feel bad, I can't use that to judge whether or not I want to approve a variance. You know, I don't want to sound like I'm a terrible person, but I'm not doing what was asked of me to do if I just approve it based on my feelings. And although I part of me wants to say yes, I still look at the fact that it's 10% of a number. So 10% of this lot is only 695 square feet. 10% of the next lot could be 3,000 or 4,000. So that's what I'm struggling with. I don't want you to think that I'm giving you a hard time, but I just.
Can I respond to that? So.
Sure.
The precedent that would be set, I believe, to be fair, would be on only lots this size. Because if you suggest to me that someone's gonna come to you 10% of the lot 3 times this size, that's a significantly different application. They'll have different side yards, they'll have different floor area ratios.
But you can never say never.
But people come in with
That's the
precedent.
problem.
No, I'm not saying never, I'm just saying that it's not an apples to apples. It's apples to apples to lots that are this size. I will accept that, that argument. But to suggest that someone who comes before you with a lot that's double this size, that this is setting precedent for that lot, I don't know that I agree with
They
that.
don't ask for 10, they ask for 5, right?
Even
4,000 becomes
Even
2,000.
so, if I were a board member, I wouldn't accept this decision as precedent to that. It's just the way, it's not an apples to apples comparison. Can I ask for each board member to chime in, please, so that I could hear everyone else?
Sure.
Thank you. Start on that left side.
I just wanted to chime in just a little bit. Just looking at the floor area variance standard, the applicant must show that the site will accommodate the problems associated with the floor area larger than that permitted by the ordinance. That's the kind of the standard that the board should look at. Can that site accommodate the larger floor area ratio? So that's the standard. Certainly any approval or disapproval, stands on its own, but it does make a record of what you've done in the past too. So that is, a valid point in terms of, you're making a record of what you're approving or not approving. So I just wanted everyone to know what the legal part of it looks like.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I would just have to go along with my fellow board member here in terms of setting precedent. The concern I would have right now.
Yeah, so I agree in principle, and then I look at the right side we're extending that 7 foot, further back, another 12 feet, something like that. It just, the access issue, I think, and the drainage issue you've addressed, and you see that, but it just seems like, a lot of addition here, for this particular lot.
Unfortunately, I agree with my fellow members.
Um, I would have to agree too. I mean, actually, I went through a similar condition, with my house, that it was actually very small like you. I wanted to do an addition. We ended up tearing the house down and redoing the entire layout because it just wouldn't work to keep within the zoning regulations. So I understand, where you're coming from, but I would have to agree.
Frank, we know where you are. I would agree.
All right, so, the owners have spent $3,000 for this site. I wish I would have had these comments at the last meeting. Maybe I could have saved them that money. Nevertheless, what I'd like to propose is to go back to the drawing board and come back with to submit a different design. Taking into consideration what you did. These owners do not have the money that you may have had when you knocked down your house. And I'm sure you're not.
No.
But, I mean, the way that's not an option for them.
Hmm.
They're a young couple, they're, like everybody else, they're struggling, they want to have a family. And, they just went through a tremendous cost to get this to you. And, now we're waiting another month, because the first one we couldn't have, we had no quorum. But nevertheless, I'll take into consideration all of your comments, and we'll have to resubmit at a different date, a different design.
So, just one moment. Are you here to talk about this application? Okay. Just one moment. So I can understand, are you withdrawing the application without prejudice to resubmission? Or are you, gonna, carry the application for a new submission? If it's, significantly materially different, it's a new application.
No, I'd like to carry it because my goal will be to take the comments from, Frank and everyone else and try to incorporate it without having to dismantle the entire house.
Okay.
So I would rather just keep the hearing open.
We can carry it, and that will be fine.
Now, the only issue, I'm not gonna be available for the August meeting, but I will for the September. I'm gonna be away.
Linda, when is our September meeting? Do you know?
That's what
Off
I'm
the top of your head?
looking for. September 20th.
So, what we'll do, we will carry the application to the September 20th meeting with the consent and signature of the applicant as to waiver of time limitations. No new notice will be required pending submission and review of submission. Right, you agree with that, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, we
If
wanna
I,
see-
if I can just add, we did have the opportunity to review the latest submission, and did have a conversation with the engineer, and I don't think it's the money wasted. I think it did address.
I got something from Mike. They'll be, even if they revised it, I mean, there's a lot of good information here that they'll be able to reuse, correct?
Correct.
All right, so.
All right. So we're good. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so, okay, I'd like to open the meeting now to public comment on this application only. Okay.
For the
Clerk, if
record,
you're so kind, go ahead. Linda, go ahead.
All right.
State your name, please, and
Robert Malone, 69 Elmwood Avenue, Allendale, New Jersey.
thank you, sir.
I am the property to the east side
Okay.
of the subject property. My wife and I have lived, I guess, in that house now just about almost 29 years. So we're very familiar with people who've tried to do things there in the past. We also are familiar with some of the things that have been mentioned here today. We don't object to an addition. We object to this addition, which I think has been taken care of. But there's a couple of things that you should know for the record, because this is a new planning board compared to what was here probably in the years past. There's at least 3 homes on the block that are bigger than this home. And in all 3 cases, Fluger, Nuns, and I believe a Werner house, I don't know who, that's 2 houses up from me. They were given the permission to put additions, if you look in the public records, 1 story, not 2. I think they made a good point with respect to the 2 stories. I think the FAR would be way apart. I don't necessarily agree that there's enough property on the quote-unquote east side to get equipment in and out. Already, the line has kind of been broached a couple of times. We were nice enough to let them cut down 2 of our trees so they could grow a garden during COVID. That fence keeps to be moved back and forth, I think, and I don't know where the pin is. Can't find the pin at the back of the property. So I think before we get into approvals and how much property what may be represented today, unless there's been a survey that has been updated with respect to that pin to the property, we don't know if it's really 7 or 6 or what. I just know it's quite close to the line and we have stuff built there. Again, we're not objecting to any addition. My wife spoke to them, I guess, met with silence after she was approached by them. I think someone made a comment on the record, would we be willing to sell the property to allow this? And the answer is no. If you look at my property, and I think you made a good point, my house, I could put, if you're going to approve this, I could put a monster house. I could probably put a house that's probably over 5,000 square feet if you look at the way my property, because my property is kind of a double lot. I could probably subdivide it now and put 2 houses up, but I'm not going to do it. It would change the entire character of the neighborhood if you see the way it's set up. So I think you have to take some of these things into consideration. I think you made a very good point about setting precedent. And if these 3 people, the Flugers and Nuns, have only 1 stories, they could come back and say, hey, we have a bigger property. Now we want to put a 2nd floor. So I'm sorry to, be the one who kind of spoils it here, but I think that it's important that the board stay within, the confines of what has been approved as the ordinance. So, hopefully we'll see what it is on the next one, and maybe then, we'll also be in consent. But as presently presented, the 2 stories will look right into our pool. It's very close to the line where it is. If you notice, it'll be 2 floors up. The roof line and everything else, I think, is way out of line with the character of the neighborhood. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so may I offer some ideas that I propose at the next meeting now, so that I can get an idea if this is the direction that would be acceptable?
Yeah, there's no, you're not testifying as to what you're doing, just you're kind of throwing some.
So if we were to,
You want this? There you go.
you don't mind.
I'm going to ask you to save that though.
This is just in the spirit of
Yeah.
saving time.
Yep.
So if we were to maintain what was happening in the 1st floor footprint and redesign the 2nd floor so that the setback would be closer to what's allowed, that would decrease the floor area ratio. I don't know if that it would take it out of variance status, but it would certainly decrease it, and we might meet that side yard. So basically, if I took 7 feet off the side and redesigned the 2nd floor, that would eliminate that side yard variance. And I'll try to keep it within the combined side yard as well. So that the 1-story addition will be maintained at the 7.4, but the 2nd story will be stepped away from the yard enough to meet that side yard requirement.
I don't think there's, there's nothing before us to.
No, I'm just
Upon
suggesting
our-
I'm going in that direction. Am I understanding that this would be, I'm not asking you to vote, but this is the direction that might help us with this application?
All I can tell you is that there's nothing concrete before the board. They've made some concerns about floor area ratio, which, in terms of my time on this council of the board for the past 5 or 6 years, I know it's a major issue when it comes before the board, however we're constituted. and have been consistently, a major issue. Height variances, floor area ratio variances have always been an issue that the board takes very seriously, and looks at with a critical eye.
So that will be the spirit that I take with me to the next development.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Very good. So
Thank
this
you,
will be
All right.
carried
So we
to,
carry to-
September 20th meeting. No new notices are required. Well, you'll understand that that's not going beyond. The application plans must be submitted at least 10 days beforehand, for review.
Yeah, let me get that on my calendar too. And available in person.
Yes.
Yes.
Lindy, can you give me that date? Yeah, but what's the sentence? September 10th? Monday, so Monday or Friday? Eight.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you for that research.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll see you in September. All right.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your summer.
Yes, you too. Thank you. Okay. We have, nothing else on our agenda, so I'm going to open up to the public for any kind of comments. Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Any other business that, Ron, anything? No? Mary, I know you're in the audience, but anything? Okay. All right. Anybody else? So. Quarter to 8, 10 to 3. Okay, then I'm gonna make a motion then to adjourn the meeting, or I'm gonna ask for a motion to end the meeting, please. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you once again, everybody, for bearing with me, and I greatly appreciate all your help. Thank you. Good night.